Yeah, so they said it was stress induced. So I'm like, what in the world? So I began to, try to keep my stress to a minimum. Because every time my stress would peak, I would literally go through it all over again. It would feel like my brain was asleep. I would feel like a brain fogginess that like I've never felt a day in my life. I would cry, like I would be looking straight, but like tears would just be coming out of my eyes. I couldn't control it. My hands would go numb. Like it was times I was driving and I knew it was nobody but an angel or somebody driving for me because I literally couldn't feel the steering wheel. And I just began to go into deep worship and deep prayer, and I began to, make my routine began to be all about God. And I remember asking him, why am I going through this? And I know that one of the things that he told me was, you gotta chill. You in the way. I gotta get you out of the way. So I'm like, okay, like I ain't had to go. I ain't had to do that. Get there. We ain't had to do that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I went through that, and so it was a lot of things that I no longer stressed about, but instead I had to trust God. And then, like I told you, the first job had messed me up. I'm working a second job. And I'm picking up extra hours. Like I'm working the graveyard shift. I'm working the shift that don't nobody want to work. I'm working from like 11 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the morning. And then the lady might call me and say, hey, you think you could pick up another shift? So then I'm working from 11 o'clock at night to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right? And I went through an agency to get this job. So at this particular time, I'm like, okay, I got some extra hours. I done worked overtime. Maybe the first job, but, give me my money that they owe me, but at least I have this check to depend on. So, keyword, depend on. Y'all, we shouldn't be dependent on no job, no people, no check, none of that. Because if we depend on them, we give them the opportunity to sweep the rug from up under us. I'm going to come back to that. All right. So, payday come. I don't see no direct deposit. So, wait a minute. Like, what's going on? So, I proceeds to call the agency lady. Like I got several text messages, emails, all this stuff, but she's always asking me, hey, you think you can work this shift? You think you can work that? Now she's the middle person between me and the manager at the actual facility. Now the lady at the actual facility, I never actually seen her at the facility, but I spoke to her several times, right? So she basically gave me the runaround. Oh, your money will be there at this time. Your money will be there at that time. Da, 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 da. So the short period that I was there, I think I worked there for maybe 3 weeks. 3 weeks before I peeled out. I had became acquainted with some of the ladies and come to find out that particular agency, that lady was a scammer. So she was getting, the facility was paying her. She was posing as an agency. The facility paid the agency. The agency was supposed to pay the employees, and she didn't pay us. Didn't pay me at all. And I remember, I'm like an old lady. I'm shaking because I ain't even gonna lie, for a minute I'm like, is this hemiplegic migraine? Is this Parkinson's? I didn't know. I just was going through some stuff. My body was going through some changes, right? So I'm like, no, this is crazy. This is the second job that didn't pay me. Like, what in the world? Like, this is wild. So I looked up the agency, where they were not stationed out of, I guess you can say that. They were a city over, and I had to go through the tunnel to get there. So I'm like, okay. So I proceeds to go over there, and at this particular time, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was thinking about doing something crazy. Like I was gonna throw a brick through there. And I don't even do stuff like that. That's why I was like, who? What? Anyway, so I drives over there, right? And I'm livid. I'm pissed. Like, this can't be happening. And I'm looking at God like, bro, like, what is this? Like, what is this? You told me I was good to get this job. You told me to go here. You told me to do this, right? So I get all the way to the place, and I get to banging on the door. Nobody answered the door. And so, remember earlier when I was telling you that the best way to get through what you're going through is to help somebody else. Kid you not. So it happens again. So I'm banging on these people's door, and this lady comes up, and she's like crying profusely. And she had no idea that I was struggling financially myself. I'm about to cry. Oh, April, don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. She had no idea that I was, girl, what is you doing? It's just my eyes sweating. I'd be like that sometimes. That I was struggling financially myself. But she proceeds to tell me this story. And I knew it was nobody but God, because the story that she told me was a story that was all too familiar. She said that her daughter had gotten killed. And she was left taking care of her grandkids. And they were staying in a hotel. And she didn't have, it was just certain stuff she didn't have. And so that story is familiar to me because, you know, my mom was unalived. I'm sorry, y'all, please don't give it this video. My mom was unalived, and, you know, my grandparents had to take care of my siblings. And so it's like I felt her, like it was, I know it was nobody but God, because like the story was so like parallel. And okay, so God said, give her everything you got in your wallet. I'm like, bro, I ain't got paid for this, y'all. I ain't got paid for that, y'all. I got my car now. I got this. God was like, give her everything you got in your wallet. So I gave her everything I had in my wallet. Gave her everything I had in my wallet. And at that particular time, I ended up giving her a book. It's a book that I'm featured in about forgiveness. And I knew that, you know, I knew that she needed that, you know, after having your child taken away in such a way, you're gonna need to forgive some people. You get what I'm saying? So that was that. I went on about my way, and I ended up receiving a financial blessing a whole nother way. So my car note got paid, my insurance got paid, everything got paid. So I ended up quitting that job, of course, because I never got paid. And so I remember asking God, like, what was that? Like I said, he said, I needed to get you out of the way. April, I had to place you under financial arrest. I had to place you under financial arrest, because if I didn't place you under financial arrest, then you would have turned to your money and not to me. Okay. So that's that. Placed me under financial arrest. All my bills and stuff end up getting paid. Everything's good. I'm still at my grandmother's house. Mind you, I haven't been there for that long. At this point, I had probably been there for maybe a month and some change, right? I come home one day, and my grandma eyes like that, and she just looking around, looking crazy. I'm like, girl, what you got going on? Come here. I'm all in her face, like, come here, shorty, let me see. So I'm looking, and I'm like, nah, something ain't right. Now, mind you, I'm still having all the medical symptoms that I'm having. They had me on several different medications. It was crazy. So I ended up taking baby girl, my grandmother, ended up taking her to the hospital. Come to find out, she had a stroke. She had a stroke. And so I'm looking like, this is crazy. This is very, 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 very strange. Because I just, quote unquote, thought I had a stroke, you know, X amount of weeks ago, and then here it is, my grandmother's actually having a stroke. Now, I wasn't happy that she had a stroke, but I was happy that I was there. Now, mind you, my uncle is not that far. Like, he literally stays 15 feet away from her, if that, right? Maybe 20 feet away from her, but she was living in the home alone. So I was happy that I was living with her at that particular time. So I took her to the hospital. Come to find out, she had a stroke, and they ended up keeping her. I want to say she might have been in there for a week, maybe 2. And so that meant that I would have been at her home alone. Well, my niece was with me some of the time, but I went through some more changes at that time.